What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my 25 Days of Christmas Marathon. Today, we're going to be talking about a film that people don't really correlate with Christmas. Well, some people anyways. Although it 1,000,000% is a Christmas film. Gremlins. At face value, the story can certainly come off as a cliched concept, having monsters take over the people, then the people find the way to control it before it's too late. But on the flip side, Gremlins came out as pretty much one of a kind, and honestly in some respects, before its time even, with guys like Steven Spielberg and Christopher Columbus at the helm. This film went through unfortunate rewrites and reshoots due to clashing ideas and actions being too graphic or too violent for kids, but for my money, Gremlins was still a massive success, and not for nothing, I would have loved to see the more extreme version they had in mind, but I can definitely respect them toning it down to try to appeal to as many people as possible. The best way I can explain the story, it's like a tiny snowball rolling down a hill. But if that hill was Mount Everest and the snowball didn't stop building until it went down to 29,000 feet, because this film only got better and more intense as it went on. With the amount of dumbing down they had to do, this film easily could have got boring along with choppy pacing issues, but Spielberg and Columbus made the most out of their runtime, setting the table quickly and hopping right into the action. Now, it's not that the first half was bad or boring by any stretch, because it does start off as a cute family Christmas film, but as every piece started to unfold, you can kind of sense that this wasn't going to be a feel-good Christmas film due to the sprinkles of dark elements that I was hinting at. Once the second half came around, it took such an awesome turn. There was such a good job seamlessly shifting the tone into that Halloween horror vibe, where those dark elements only helped ease into that carnage, so the tones didn't just come to a car crash. Gremlins is a film that has so many memorable scenes, especially in the last act. There's obvious carnage going on, but in reality, the joy of the flick wasn't underlying messages about life or Christmas, but it was watching the Gremlins beat Gremlins, hence the title of the film, Gremlins. When it comes to the characters, the people characters were just fine for what they were. There wasn't any performances that really stood out, where again, the driving force of the film was the actual Gremlins, and of course, Gizmo. The actual people were almost plot devices to the Gremlins, but I wouldn't be lying if I said the people were just a waste, because there was certainly good moments from each of our people characters. I really enjoyed that the Gremlins themselves could have easily come off as a plot device as well, or just a brainless antagonist, but in reality, they facilitated the entire plot. It wasn't just them running around doing crazy stuff, but they also played a role in the dad's job, a main protagonist's life, and of course, in a general sense, facilitating the main plot and the conflict in itself. The creators really went all out on the look of these puppets, giving our main ones so much personality and character, where they were all unique and very fun, paying a lot of attention to the differing details. Because there were just so many of them, some stick out more than others, like our main Gremlins and Stripe and Gizmo, but even the side Gremlins that pretty much go nameless have distinguished personalities or traits from their eyes, their scales, their expressions, and even their color patterns. That brings me to my next positive, and that's the animatronics and the camera work alongside of it that helped enhance that realism that was captured. There were certain moments that can be a bit dodgy, but for the most part, especially for the time, it looked really, really well done. They didn't just have these plain emotions like happy and sad, but they also incorporated like eyebrow and cheek movement to give their emotions that much more life, along with the way that they moved, and a lot of the credit goes to the way the camera was placed. Although the film was brilliant in my eyes and everybody that was born around that time, it doesn't come without at least a few flaws, starting with the predictabilities. From about the 20-minute mark or so, you can already almost tell where the film was going to go. With a concept like this, the issue sort of kind of writes itself, because again, it's just been done so many times, even for that time, but because of how fast the beginning portion of the movie flowed and how the exposition was handled, you can tell where things are going to pan out. My next issue comes from some of the logic of the film. With a film that's very strict on its rules, it kind of backed itself into a corner where, like my first issue, it sort of writes itself into some problems. And my last issue comes from the characters. As mentioned, the Gremlins were the driving force, so the characters didn't really need to be all these all-star studs, but in reality, the acting was on the weaker side, especially from our lead in Zach Galligan, where it's easy to see how green he is in front of the camera. To kind of back onto the character issues, none of them were really all that fleshed out, and when they would attempt to add a little bit of depth, it was spread out so thin, like with our protagonist's love interest. That just felt so unnecessary. And to add to that, my last negative comes from their conversations and reactions to things. Columbus himself said that he wrote this as a concept piece, where it really wasn't meant to be made into a film, along with the rewrites that went on, but if I'm being honest, some of the conversations and reactions just felt a bit unnatural. Overall, as much as I really enjoyed this film, I'd love to sit here and say that this film was flawless, but that just really wouldn't be the truth. But on the flip side, sometimes the prettiest gems have blemishes, and that's the way I see Gremlins. Gremlins gets a very solid 7 out of 10 from me. Let me know what you think of Gremlins in the comments below, and let me know what film you'd like to see me review next. See you guys in the next one.